welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today. This is going to be a potent session, and I'm sure there are a lot of nuggets of wisdom in here that might shift your paradigm and the way you're being. So I'm really excited for this. Okay, I'm going to tell you. It's masculine mastery versus the masculine shield. And I'll get into that in a second. It's going to be really exciting. I'd love to thank you all so much for your comments. Like, that means the world to me. To be able to be here in Sedona, to be in this beautiful house, to be in a safe environment, and to do what my heart loves most is like something I cried for, I prayed for, like I don't know how many countless nights. This means the world to me. And it's been a windy road, but yeah, your comments are the reflection of that. Like when I see how much some of the topics truly hit home, and I can feel it, and I can feel the shift that happens. So yeah, it means the world to me. So please connect with me, comment, let me know what you're thinking, let me know what you got from the videos. It means so much. And please like, subscribe, and share if you can, because I feel like we need to get this out and more women need to hear that, because there are, again, a lot of nuggets of wisdom that come together when I create these sessions. So, one more thing. I have one more spot open for my one-on-one container that starts in July, or on July 1st, actually. So it's right here, right down there below, and it's a quantum shift container. And I originally planned to take only 2 women in for that, just because I want to make sure that every single woman gets my focus and my full focus. But I feel like one more person is in the field, and 3 people feels right. I also like the power of 3. And I think it's cool because, yes, it's a one-on-one container, but we're all starting this on the 1st of July. So you're in a grid together, even though you might not know each other. So if we have one more person in there, I feel like it would be very powerful. So it's immensely affordable. It's my launch special. So if you feel it, do it. Like, reach out to me, send me a message, or book an info call, and let's speak about it, because I would love to have you there. So now let's get into the topic. Okay, today it's all about cultivating our OG essence, our original G aspect, the original God within us. And the path of the Empress requires a masterful masculine foundation, because masterful beings are fluid. That means from moment to moment, we can shift our energetics depending on what the moment requires from us. So, as you know by now, there is no such thing as pure masculinity and nothing else, and pure femininity and nothing else. That would be ridiculous and absolutely not fluid. And I don't even know how that would look like in a person. Like, I might have seen some versions of that in women where they're just totally lost in their femininity, and just everything is overwhelming, and there's no like, they're very much in their heart, but there's just no guidance in life. Like, that might be one example. But fact is, we need both of it. There is no Empress without the woman that has already embodied the OG essence. So this is why this is so vital. And yes, there are a lot of feminine teachings for women out there, and I get it, because our feminine raw essence is very high maintenance. Yeah. So our masculine essence kind of thrives in every environment. Like, it's just there because it's the divine protector and it's the divine provider. And when it's time to be there, this essence in us will thrive. It will thrive in war. It will thrive in any environment. Now, our raw feminine essence is high maintenance. She thrives only when there is safety, when there is calmness, slowness, tranquility, and she's well nourished and she's well taken care of. Only then is she able to come out. So that's why there is so much emphasis on feminine teachings, because we have to create this environment so the feminine can thrive. But what I feel, it's even more vital to first teach the proper masculine embodiment, because only when you know how to be a strong ass warrior, to be an OG, like an original god for your goddess, only then will you even be able to touch that rawest essence of your being. So the most embodied, like just powerful women are the lionesses that first embodied and had this OG mastery down. So that's why I feel like we should even teach more about masculinity, so that we can then step into our raw divine essence. And as you know, the feminine space, I hope you know, and if not, you will experience it, is honey. Like, it is healing, it is nourishing, it is the womb of creation as an energetic. And that's such a mystical and magical space to be in. But that space requires, again, a lot of container setting. And that's what your OG essence is for. Your inner masculine mastery will provide the energetics that the raw feminine essence within you needs in order to feel safe and in order to just even feel. Okay? So this topic today will be all about, well, what is the OG essence versus what is the masculine shield. And so, as you know, the mastery of the masculine is you embodying integrity. So that means you stand for your word. When you say something, it's being done. When you make a mistake, you can't stand up for your mistake. You can own up to your mistakes and you can apologize for it. The OG essence moves through life with honor for himself, with honor for others, and he will only engage in things that are honorable, meaning that honor his soul. And anything that is not honoring to the soul, your OG essence won't engage in. It's also the essence within you that is strategic and logical. Yeah. While the feminine is very much spontaneous and in flow, which is vital, we also need direction. And so the masculine mastery creates direction for your life, creates a strategy, and creates a container in which then the feminine can flow in. Like that, on a very grounded level, might just be, if you're building a business, you will need a schedule. But the divine embodiment of both is, yes, you have a schedule, but you're not crazy obsessed and there's room to flow in it. And if something spontaneous comes up where your heart is like, I have to do this, and it doesn't matter if I have to move 3 things around and I just can't make it happen today, something came in and my soul is a full yes and I have to jump in it. That's the beautiful like dance. That's also the dance that you're dancing within your relationship. Like there are moments where my masculine is holding space for the feminine within my partner. Yeah. Where I watch his inner child, or I watch his feminine aspects dance, or I watch him in a creative flow. And I'm the one that kind of like provides more of a structure. Now, of course, it's the other way around too. So it's very fluid. it's also the OG essence is the one that is ambitious, devoted, and driven. Like for me, that is what got me through college. While I was working on my business degree back in Germany, my feminine was non-existent. She was not in the suit. Like I was very in my masculine shield and I was in my OG essence. Because my feminine would have been like, I can't handle this. I don't have fun. I'm not enjoying myself. Like the only enjoyment I found back then was in having sex. That was it. That was the only time when there was a little space for my feminine. A little. Like it wasn't real. It wasn't authentic. But that was like kind of the only space where my feminine could thrive a little bit and come out and play. Everything else was very much that OG essence within that was like, okay, like I hate everything I'm doing, but I just feel like I have to get this done. Like I just have to make it through this degree. I have to make it through college. Like I could feel there was something on the other end and I just knew I had to do it. That was the part in me that had 2 jobs while I was studying and just like pushed through. That was the part in me that still went and like got to the gym often 2 times a day to just get it on. That was the one that created meal plans and meal prep so I could like fit everything into the schedule. I adore that version of me because that OG essence, that warrior within me, made it so I am here today. He set the foundation so my feminine can thrive today. So it's vital. He was the one doing it. So these are the basics for the masculine energetics. And I feel like a lot of you already know that and you know about the energetics of the masculine, but just to set the proper foundation. Now, I would like to get into a more like fun way how you can still make use of these energetics in day-to-day interactions with other women. Because that's the beauty of mastery. You choose the beauty of the moment over any aspect of your ego. And we'll get to that in a second. That could mean a lot of different things, but I want to give you examples. So the way my OG essence comes through in everyday interactions with my clients, with other women, like just with life in general, is when I witness the feminine essence shining, when I see a woman in her radiance, this will oftentimes pull out that OG essence in me. That means if I see this just goddess in a body, I will run and I will hold the door open for her. That feminine radiance pulls out my OG essence. So it's very fluid. Yeah, in that moment, I'm stepping gladly into the role of the masculine to honor the feminine, right? That's something that we can do. We can step into our masculine mastery to honor the feminine in another being, which will in fact honor our own feminine. Now, yes, there are moments where I can decide to shine with her and we can both be in our feminine essence and embrace each other. But oftentimes it's just it's an unsaid thing. It's a fluid energetic where something in her just pulls out my OG essence. And I'm like, yeah, like this is your moment to shine, woman. And I want you to shine fully. So allow my inner masculinity to amplify your shine. And this is something that at this point I am aware of and I do like unconsciously, but I'm aware of it. Like it's just natural to me. And that's also one of the reasons why jealousy does not exist in my life. It does not exist. And that's a part that a lot of women do not have down yet. They haven't mastered that yet. Like I just spoke with this beautiful, gorgeous woman the other day, And she told me, and she's a powerhouse. You can feel it. Like energetically, she's just on another level. So she was working with a coach. And, of course, there are a lot of coaches, other women that help other females. But a lot of them haven't like fully embodied their mastery. Because there's this, I want to lift you up and I want to raise you up, but don't shine brighter than I do. Like, you got it? Like, I'm going to raise you up, but just enough so you don't outshine me. Like, first of all, in my paradigm, this whole outshine thing doesn't exist. And I will tell you why. And so she told me on the phone that she was working with this coach, but at a certain point, she just could feel this jealousy. And that's exactly when we can switch easily into that OG essence. And that's when I can just look at myself like I'm not another woman. I'm a being. And sometimes we both embody our raw feminine essence, but sometimes that OG essence in me comes out to fucking adore you in ways that no one else has yet. And that's a very masculine trait. So in that moment, when I see a woman shine, my mind doesn't render of like, oh, wait, I'm a woman. She's a woman. Wait, now she's out. That does not happen in my mind. Because there's almost like this automatic fluidity of like, ooh, and now I'm moving into the OG essence, and my OG gets to adore this masterpiece of a being, this masterpiece of radiant feminine energy. And I feel like a lot of women have yet to learn that. And that to me is just like nothing's more juicy than that. Like nothing's more fun than that. But that's something I always did, but I wasn't aware of the energetics I was moving through. Like just naturally, just the way I grew up, I had to learn, that was just my essence. I had to learn how to transmute energies and master spaces. So that's something that comes very natural to me. But at this point, I can like bring awareness to, well, what's even happening in this moment? Or what am I doing here? And so it's really cool to be able to see how we can fluidly move from one energetic to the next. And so the same is what I do when I feel another woman getting jealous with me. And it's like, you will get this. Like you will get this love as you step into your own inner radiance and as you shine unapologetically. Like you will inspire and spark the F out of a lot of women, but you will also get a lot of women that can't handle this and who will look at you with hate-filled eyes, or you can feel the jealousy. And when I have these kind of engagements, what I do is, depending on what's needed in the moment, sometimes my inner feminine will uplift her. Like sometimes I feel like it's more important for her to see feminine radiance shine unapologetically, but a lot of times I will move into my OG essence to show her, hey, love, first of all, there's always love available. Jealousy is not a safe space to be, and it's an illusion. You don't have to be like that. So my OG essence will come in and empower her. When I feel jealousy, my OG will come out and lift her up and share with her what my inner man sees in her and how freaking gorgeous she is, and that there's no space for jealousy. Like, I'm not saying that, but that's the message that I'm transmitting as that OG essence. So these are just like beautiful ways of navigating spaces and navigating the energetics and utilizing your like just original G essence masterfully. And so for me, I learned this in all of my jobs, just to give you more of an example, because I'm sure you will be able to apply that to your life or see where this could actually change dynamics in your life. So one of it is my mom was a waitress, and I was a waitress for like 6 or 7 years while I was studying, and just like I love to host people. So while I was doing all of that, I was always like a waitress or hosting in some sort of way. And if you're a waitress or if you're in the service industry, you know the energetics of that entitled principessa that comes into the store. And you already know that regardless of what's going to happen, she won't be pleased. Like you cannot please her because she doesn't want to be pleased. And she comes in with this entitled energy of like, pissed off, you better show me a good time. But we all know that you're not going to have a good time anyway. So as a waitress, you will deal with these women. So now my inner feminine probably has very little patience for that. My inner feminine is probably like, God, you're an annoying bitch. Like, just no. Because I wouldn't go into spaces and do that. Or when I do it, it's fucking annoying. And I annoy the F out of myself and I don't like myself. Like, it happens rarely, but if like this immature aspect comes out in me, I'm like, God, I hate myself right now. And that's okay. Like, because I'm like, I don't want to be like that. So when I see it in other women, I have very little patience for that. And that's something, if my feminine ego met her entitled princess essence, it would have been a shit show. And everyone who's in the service industry had that, where when your ego is like feminine ego is out of control, you have this passive aggressive bitch fight. And it's just not a nice environment. So in these moments, that's another moment where I chose harmony of the moment over my feminine ego. So I switched into that OG essence. So when I am not attached to that, you're another woman, you're a feminine being, like I can move fluidly into the no, daddy's here. And even though you can't be pleased, I'm going to do everything I can to please you, woman. Like, that's the energetics I stepped into. And guess what? I've had a beautiful experience, and that's the only thing that matters. And actually, she probably had a beautiful experience too, even though she couldn't admit it. But if you joke around, like you're in that more masculine container space, you created, you see? You as the masculine, you set up the container and everyone else is just walking into your container. And yes, they're filling it with different experiences, but you set the base frequency. And that happened with every space I worked at. I was also a personal trainer for a long while. So I would work in like EMS, electromuscle stimulation, where it's a 20-minute session and 2 people come in. So every 20 minutes, I had 2 completely different energies coming in, and I had to navigate the spaces. And if I met them with my feminine ego, it wouldn't have been smooth. So a lot of times I just had to give other women the stage, because it's like if you're a pretty beautiful woman, it's already like a lot of women can't handle that, like, or a lot of unaware women. So like I just had to learn how to reside in my OG essence for most of my life, just for ease and grace. And so I still make use of it because I see it as basically like a superhero suit. We are very multidimensional. So we get to choose what aspects we embody in each moment. And sometimes that masculine suit fits me so well, and it fits the situation so well, and it just makes everything more graceful and fun and easy. And if I have to wear the masculine suit for the betterment of the moment, I can do that. Now, of course, at this point in my life, I deliberately set up my reality so I can be in my feminine most of the time. Back then, I didn't have the luxury. Back then, I was mostly in that masculine essence. So, and it's funny because you know how it is. Once you have like a good job, or back then you had a good job, you would share it with the homies. So a lot of my girls would work the same jobs that I worked, whether that was in retail or whether that was in the restaurants. And I literally never had a bad day at work. Like, I just didn't. Like, yes, of course I had bad days, and then the work was according to maybe my heartbreak, not the best day. But I would navigate spaces very well because I had the mastery of the OG essence. So while they were in retail, oftentimes, and they got, like, how it is when you work in H&M or wherever, or Mango, and you have all of these other women coming in, energetically, it can be a real shit show. Like, you walk into the space and you can just feel the passive aggressive energy everywhere. It's like when too many unaware women and too many feminine egos meet, it's just like nasty. It's nasty. So rather than they setting up the space and deciding what environment they want to live in, like if I'm the cashier, I'm setting up my space. And as you are walking into my field, I will meet you with a certain energetic. And again, that energetic was mostly masculine because it's non-triggering. And at that point, I wasn't there to trigger people into awakening. I wanted to have a harmonious experience. So I was mostly in my masculine. And it didn't matter who got in front of me. If someone was super grumpy, I wouldn't meet them with grumpiness because, you just stepped into my container. I created this container. My masculine created this container. So I will decide what kind of experience we're having. And trust me, when I'm here, we'll have a beautiful experience. And I saw that my friends didn't have that same awareness. Like, they would get a very annoying client and they would meet their feminine ego would meet it with passive aggressiveness, or their feminine ego would meet it with pettiness of like, oh, you want to be a bitch? Okay, now I'm going to take extra long to give you that shirt, or I'm going to make sure that we don't have it in your size, or whatever. And it's like all of a sudden your whole day is just whack, because when you meet people with that energy, you can't have a good day. So it was always interesting to see. And back then I didn't know what I was doing different. I know that I just always had like luck, as they would say, and they just didn't. And now I see I was in my masculine and my masculine wasn't affected. My masculine ego has such big cojones. Like, he doesn't get affected by little petty shit like that. Like, my masculine was a warrior and a provider, and like he wasn't easily triggered. So like his ego was basically never involved. It was always just like, I have patience, I have the space. While my feminine ego, if I stepped into that version, I don't know. Maybe I would have lost patience. Maybe I would have turned petty or whatever. But that was just not what I created. So I hope this gives you an example of how you can utilize that energy at this point in your life. You are fluid. So there are very beautiful ways to navigate that. And as a woman, it is just as vital to cultivate that OG energetic as it is for man, and as it is for you to cultivate the feminine essence. And again, my masculine is, like I said, he's this OG warrior and this lover that cherishes other women and his other brothers. So who is your divine masculine? How does he express himself through you? Can you see where he's coming out to play? Can you see where he's stepping into the field to make sure that your raw feminine essence is untouched and you have a safe experience? That would be really, really interesting for me. And also, if you have experiences, please share it in the comment section. And which is funny, because you might know that this is also like, I see that essence often embodied in my kind of like dykey lesbian friends. Like, I'm into men, but some of my really butch friends, they have that freaking masculine essence. Like, they have that warrior essence that makes my inner feminine just go like, oh, like, oof, I'm not into women, but you are a whole nother level of a man, honey. So it's like, if you had that, that's probably why. Like, if you felt that attraction with kind of like maybe one of your lesbo friends or whatever, it's because they have that OG essence embodied. And so it's like this polarity in them, even if you're generally not into women. Like, I've definitely had that many times with my friends. So that it made sense then. Like, I had to learn, like, why am I feeling so attracted to this woman, even though I'm not into women? And, so it was this whole thing. Now I get it. It's because she had it down. Like she had that aspect so embodied. Like she was basically a strong masculine container. So I just think this is really funny. Like this is how real the magnetism of energetics are. Like it doesn't matter really what the body is. Like when the energetics are right, even like a, tiny skinny man can be so freaking masculine if he has the energetics down. So, okay, let's get into the masculine shield. I need a sip of algae water for that. Because as you can see, the masculine itself it's a beautiful container. And when we say that women are hyper masculine, we often do not speak about that OG essence. When we say that women are hyper masculine, we're talking about the masculine numbing shield. And it's not even necessarily masculine, because it's like the masculine has beautiful qualities, while this numbing shield is it's not masculine in essence. Essentially, it's a numbing shield. But for the sake of this video, and you'll see why, we'll call it masculine shield. But I want to make sure that in itself, it's not naturally just masculine. It's more so a protective, numbing shield that is numbing or blocking out our feminine expression. And while that OG essence, that divine masculine mastery, is holding you so you can go deeper into your feminine essence and you can feel deeper, the masculine shield is actually preventing you to access the deeper realms of the feelings, right? It's that numbing out. So that's a big, big difference. And we'll get into the difference of it like at a lot of times throughout this video. So, and I made a lot of notes for this. So the masculine shield is basically the protective mechanism of the wounded priestess. So it covers up our sexual life force when we are incapable to navigate our creation energy properly. So it covers up our sexual energy to dim the light of the feminine and to dim the shine of the raw sexual essence that the feminine carries. Now, that is not a mean thing, okay? This is a protective mechanism. And I said it's the protective mechanism of the wounded priestess for a reason. So this has, of course, ancient DNA memories attached to it. If that raw sexual life force, which is the force of the oracle, the force of the priestess, if this is what got you to be molested, raped, tortured for eons, of course, there will be a fear and you will shut that down. So that's something that is just a natural protective mechanism of, oh my God, like it's in my DNA. At some point when that happens, it got me in a lot of trouble. That's one reason. Another reason is that this life isn't really safe. I mean, no, let's rewrite that. Rewrite that. Let's rewrite that. Life is safe, but maybe the way or the environments that we grew up in weren't safe. So let me just give you an example of my life. As a young child, that natural sexual essence just bubbles out of you. That's when you dance, that's when you sing, that's when you express. And for you, it's the most pure and innocent way of being. But all of a sudden, when you turn 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old or young, you see that men start to look at you differently. You can pick up that the way they look at you is not just pure. You can feel the predatory energy within unhealed masculinity. And I am so freaking sorry if that happened in your home environment. Because for a lot of us, it did. Like for me, one example is I think I was 8, 9 years old, and I wanted to sing karaoke. So my uncle set up this Yahoo chat where I could just sing and dance karaoke. And so for me, that was innocent. And I was singing in my little top and I was dancing, and all of a sudden I had 10 men watching me. Some of them jerking off while I was dancing. Some of them saying, "Oh, you have nice little titties." And in my mind, I was like, dude, I'm 9 years old. I don't even have anything here. So that was a big pivotal moment for me when I realized, wait, what I'm expressing here so freely is not safe. It gets me attention that is disgusting to me. I feel like my space is invaded. And I'm sure we all have our own like examples of when that happened for us, or who that was for us, where this beauty, this creation energy just received disgusting attention because we had a lot of unhealed, unembodied energetics around us. So maybe then we started to be more, oh, I guess I have to cover this up. Now I carried this on like it shifted in and out of my life, but even in my 20s, back then I was working in a gym. So I had the shift where I was working late night and I was the only one closing, and I closed the gym down at 12 a.m. at night. And I had like all of my Albanian bouncers and, like Iranian security team, like just big buff guys. And I didn't want to be looked at like a piece of meat. So I became that bruh. So I had to develop this masculine shield where I totally covered up all of my sexual energy. I totally covered up my feminine essence, and I became very masculine. Everyone was bruh. And I just walked around like I was a dude. So it's funny, back then I think like some people actually thought I was lesbian, and I had a lot of lesbian friends, but I wasn't. That was just my way of protecting myself. Also, yes, German men in general are very open and very liberate, and they're just like, you go, woman, you have equal rights, we do 50-50. Like that's very much like the German typical energy. But it's a melting pot. So where I lived, we had a lot of different cultures and a lot of like Middle Eastern influence and a lot of Islamic influence. And we know that there's a lot of beauty in that religion, like it is in any religion, but there's also a lot of programming. So I had a lot of men with that influence around me, and I could feel that they looked at me almost with disgust. Like, and I talked about that. Like there's this, we all know that look, and it's a very unsafe look, and only if you're a woman you know that look. It's like when a man looks at you and part of him hates you and despises you, and he is disgusted by you, but he wants to rape you. Like, depending on what circumstances you grew up in, you've received that look, and it's terrifying. So it's like, that was kind of the surrounding I was in. There was this like almost like the man gets aggravated by you turning him on. Like it's very twisted. So that was my masculine shield. It didn't feel safe. And at this point, maybe I would know how to navigate it in a very strong, powerful, feminine way. At this point, that was my only tool. So I shut it all down. Like I was very much in that masculine shield. So I'm sure that a lot of you can relate. And so what the masculine shield also does, because not only does it show up in these ways, it's also, in general, it impacts our way of being. Because what that also does, it protects us from feeling deeply. Yeah. So because of that ancient wounding that we carry, it's like so natural for us sometimes to numb us out. because the deeper we penetrate our heart, the deeper our joy and bliss will be. Like what the raw feminine essence does is she penetrates that core of your heart, because you deserve to feel beauty and bliss, and you deserve to actually feel the undercurrent of life, which is just such, I have no words for that. It's divine joy, it's safety, it's just pure bliss. But as we do that, as the feminine does that, all the pain that is stored in the heart will have to come up, and it will have to leave. So that masculine shield is protecting us from allowing our feminine to penetrate our heart, so we don't have to feel the pain. Because part of us doesn't know that there's beauty on the other end. Part of us doesn't trust that there's beauty on the other end of pain. So the feminine is connected to that deepest realm of your heart. And the masculine shield that so many of us still carry was created for us to not tap into the deeper heart spaces. And so anytime we still carry a remnants of this masculine numbing shield, it's because our body and our system still feels like we're in a war zone or we're on a battlefield, right? Like back then, my life in Germany, like being around all of these unhealthy energetics and distortions, it felt like I was in a war zone. It didn't feel safe. So my body was showing me, hey, we're numbing ourselves out right now because this doesn't feel like safe existence. In my relationships didn't feel safe. They felt like they were going to break my heart and just like chop me to pieces. So I was in my masculine shield. And so if you still carry that, maybe it is because actually your physical surrounding isn't safe. Okay. But maybe it is also because your internal state doesn't feel safe, right? And that's something we can work on right now. So we'll get to that. I want to speak on now, like, what are the origins of the masculine shield? Because yes, part of it is the tool or the shield of the wounded priestess. And the other aspect, it's the tool of the wounded warrior. And so from a light body perspective, that shield is basically covering up your heart. It's like that on and off switch that makes your heart chakra feel like it's just compressed. Like you can't feel at all. It's numb. Like a lot of times when people are in depression, which is, I don't believe in that. I used to think I was depressed. I was numb. Because depression isn't necessarily feeling sadness and crying all the time. A lot of times it's you just feeling nothing and feeling numb. Life is gray. That's how I would describe my depression, which at this point I don't believe in, because I know it was just my heart chakra that was on an off switch. I decided to switch it off because I couldn't handle what was around me and what was within me at that time. So I turned it off. So depression is, in that sense, to me at this point, not real. It's something in us made the decision to turn off our feeling and went numb. And we have the power to turn it on again. So it's kind of like a heart implant if I look at it from a light body perspective. Like that's how I see it at this point. And again, this comes oftentimes very automatic for us, right? So for that divine essence within you, it feels impossible to turn off your heart, because your heart is the divine connection to source, to the original creator of your soul, to life itself, to God, to the essence of the universe, the womb of creation. Like it's that connection. Why would we ever turn that off? But because of the distortions, because of the programming through maybe even eons of time, it might be even like interdimensional. Like there is this war consciousness. And so for us at this point, we're probably the first or maybe second generation that doesn't live in total suffering. So it's just still so ingrained in us to have that on and off switch of our heart. And it's easy, and that's like, for a lot of us, it's easy to turn it off. Like, that's that DNA memory in us. So it's, and again, like, it comes from like even war, interdimensional war, intergalactic war, war here on this planet. We had to learn the tactics of shutting off our heart, because that's why I call it like, the other aspect of this is the ancient warrior wounding, because if we didn't have that off switch in wars, we wouldn't have been able to like kill another soldier. So it's this function, or I would call it the dysfunction, is to be able to shut off our heart. And it comes from lifetimes and lifetimes, maybe eons of war consciousness that was programmed into our being. So at this point, again, for this incarnation, it almost felt natural for us to just shut it down. Like, when something was painful, I just shut it down, go numb, go numb. It was just the easy way to do that. And it came so natural, right? For a lot of us, this was automatic behavior of, oh, I'm just going to go numb. Like, I'm just going to zone out. It's because of the ancient wounding and the ancient imprint connected to that. And now think about it. Like, you've been a warrior many times, woman. Like, especially for those who carry that OG mastery, you've been warriors many times. And now think about that battlefield situation where you literally could not feel, because it's this, what if I feel and then I see all my men being killed? What if I feel and all of a sudden I walk home and my whole village is being destroyed? What if I feel and my family is killed? This is not going to happen in this lifetime, but it's something that was very much a possibility back then and probably happened many times. How can a soldier open his heart when he killed hundreds of people? Because the moment he allows love in, he will allow the pictures of the people in. So he will allow the pain back in. So as that warrior, that soldier, there is so much pain in this, and they had to learn how to shut it down. So this is in our DNA. So we still have that connected, and we still have the pain connected to it. So this numbing feels often very automatic for us. And it's this complete disassociation to divinity, just as a survival mechanism. Like, we are dissociating ourselves from feeling states just to survive. Now, at this point in time, we don't need this anymore. At this point in time, we have the tools, especially if you're watching this video right now. Now, when I was in this, I told you, like, back in Germany, when I was very much in my masculine shield, I needed it. Because if I would have opened that box of Pandora, I don't know if I would have made it through college. So it was basically, I was in a war. I was in battle zone. I was in a war zone. I needed to just survive. I needed to just make it through the college. I needed to just get enough money to have a chance to go somewhere else. Like, I needed to just grind and hustle. It wasn't the space for my feminine to share all of her pain with me. So my masculine shield was basically safeguarding me at that time. And when it was time to heal, my body gave me really clear signs of, you need to stop with that bullshit. It's time to heal. It's time to go within. It's time to explore the divine aspects of you that you don't believe exists, but they do. It's time to show you God. It's time to show you what the universe is really made of. And this is when my healing journey began. This is where my feminine was introduced. So this is not a mean, bad part of you, but it's probably not serving you right now. Especially if you're watching this video, it's not serving you, and any remnants you still hold, it's withholding beauty from you that you so deserve. So let's talk about this masculine shield in a relationship setting, because this is when you will really feel it. Now, if you're in a relationship, or if you've been in a relationship back then, and that magnetism and polarity was missing, right? Like there was no spark, there was no sexual like magnetism, tension, and like beautiful tension, and that polarity. It's probably because you were still, or you are still, in your masculine shield. It's highly likely that if this magnetism isn't occurring in your relationship, it's because you still carry leftovers of this masculine shield or this numbing shield. And if you haven't really done prior work on this, like if you haven't deliberately worked on releasing the masculine shield, it's highly likely that the partner you chose was chosen by your masculine shield. And with that, that means that your partner, and in that case your man, isn't in his true power. So if that applies to you, but I know for a lot it does, because I see it in so many relationships, and I've also saw it in mine in the past many, many times. So if you chose a partner from your masculine shield, that means that your partner isn't in his power either. Because a man with a true embodied original God essence, like embodied alpha lion energetics, will not choose a woman that is in her masculine shield, because she doesn't add to his life. He will be polarized and magnetized by a very feminine essence, because that feminine essence will add to his life. So if you were in your masculine shield while you were choosing your partner, chances are high that your partner definitely wasn't in his divine power either. So what happens now in you is your inner OG essence, that embodied divine mastery of masculinity within you, will amplify and add to your inner feminine and his inner feminine. So if you're in a very beautiful relationship with a man that is very alpha, but you carry some of that like OG essence within you, it will actually make his feminine feel more safe and your feminine feel more safe. So it adds. Yeah? Your feminine raw essence will add and amplify his OG essence. Like it will bring out even more of his divine masculine qualities, and it will bring out more of your divine masculine qualities. Now, your masculine shield basically just takes away from everything. Your masculine shield will defeminize you, and it will demasculate your man. So it's not adding or contributing to anything. It just takes away. So that's why it's so vital that we are looking at that and we're working on it. And so if that is currently going on in your relationship, like if you don't have that polarity with your man, if you don't have that magnetism with your man, it's highly likely that your masculine shield, again, either chose the situation to begin with, or you actually kind of like downgraded his essence or his OG essence, and through time you created this environment. Like that masculine shield, maybe it wasn't there in the beginning. So in the beginning there was this, sorry, my man is back. So in the beginning there was this divine polarity, but in time this masculine shield came out because it's like, oh, this is unsafe. So it downgraded that essence. And then throughout time, you created an environment where you demasculated your man and you defeminized yourself, and the polarity is now missing. So now what we have to get, this is not, you didn't do that because you're mean or anything. Your wounded warrior is safe in that environment. Your wounded warrior is safe in the environment in which he doesn't have to feel. So your wounded warrior will love a relationship without polarity, a man that is not attractive to him. That's the environment where your wounded warrior is safe. It's the death to your feminine essence, right? So your feminine essence will die in an environment without polarity and without magnetism. So she feels unsafe to surrender to a man that isn't in his power. But she, that masculine shield, and you created this. And I hope this makes sense. Like, for a lot of you, this will really hit home because it's something we do unconsciously. So the masculine shield that we carry removes all romance. It removes touch. It removes intimacy, because we will almost feel grossed out by deep, intimate interactions, and we feel almost grossed out by touch or anything that would penetrate our heart too deep, because it isn't safe, right? Like, something in us doesn't believe it's safe to go into the depths of our heart. So let's get into the ways on how to heal this, because there is a way. And so let's get into that. And I just saw, like, my man just pulled up. So we'll make this not quick, but just in the right timing. So the first thing, if you observe that within yourself or within your relationship, is get out of the numbing habit. So only you know what that is. Only you know how you numb yourself. And we all have different ways of doing that. So that's the first thing. Get out of the habit of numbing yourself, whether that is through continuous stress, whether that is through hustling, working, whether that is by creating body pains and ailments. That might be picking fights. That might be a way to numb out yourself. That might be a way that you protect yourself from going really deep with your partner, because if you're constantly picking fights, well, there's no room for intimacy, right? Another way could be food. Like, only you know. Like, when this feeling is bubbling up, like when something gets uncomfortable, do you just grab and overeat? Do you go and scroll through Insta? Do you go and maybe use certain substances, whether that is an overload on caffeine? Because trust me, your feminine raw essence does not go together with caffeine. So one way to make sure your masculine shield is staying alive is by being all hyped up on caffeine. You cannot penetrate the deeper, like, fields of your heart when you're on drugs, and caffeine is essentially a drug. So that's one way. Only you know how you numb yourself out. So get out of the habit of numbing yourself. The next one is awareness. Speak the truth of the moment, right? So that means don't let anything go unnoticed in your surrounding, in your relationship, wherever that applies, because the feminine feels all. And that might be something that, if it's unintegrated, it's this whole, oh, you're always nagging, like nothing goes unnoticed with you. Yes, but that's the feminine oracle. It now just has to come through in an embodied, masterful state, not nagging. It has to come through in a state of, ooh, wait, this is out of tune with my heart. Ooh, wait, this interaction doesn't feel like it's in truth. That's the power of the feminine. That's literally your job. Now, when we're in the masculine shield, we let things just go unnoticed. We numb ourselves out. Maybe it's just something simple like your partner didn't carry the bags for you, or your partner talked to you like you're one of his bros. The feminine in you would take that as an invitation to invite for deeper intimacy. Like, whatever way, this can be playful, this can be erotic, just inviting your partner back into a space of like, Daddy, I forgot, or you forgot who you're talking to, right? However you want to express that. But the masculine shield will just take note internally and numb it out, right? So instead of inviting your man into more intimacy, if he doesn't approach you like the Empress that you are, you just let it pass. And you make that internal check of like, like he didn't treat me right. Or you just numb out, like, yeah, I guess this is just what I deserve. And you just go through your day without having awareness of, are we keeping the magnetism and polarity alive? And the only way to do that is by bringing awareness. And the feminine is the guiding light here, because your feminine is so in tune with her heart. So anytime an interaction just does that little ping of like, that didn't feel good, that didn't feel juicy, that's her superpower. That was a moment where you can invite into a deeper playfulness, or you can remind your man that, hey, I'm your woman, remember that, in whichever ways you can do that. And I know you're masterful at that. Like, that is what the oracle does. So the masculine shield will totally forget that role and just walk through life numbed out. Your partner talks to you in whichever way, and you're just like, whatever. Then you start to talk back to him like he's a bruh that you don't care about. That we don't roll like that. The Empress doesn't roll like that. That's not how we'll find divinity in our union, or how our heart will be able to truly feel joy and beauty. So one of the greatest ways is to utilize the period right before your yin phase. So right before you're bleeding, this is when your body naturally moves into a yin state. And in that yin state, you will be hyper aware of everything that isn't in tune with your heart. That's a very powerful phase, especially if you're living from your masculine shield a lot. That is the time where you get the chance to remember what it feels like to be in your yin feminine essence. This is not PMS. This is literally you navigating through life and scanning life of, wow, well, this is not appropriate for my feminine essence. Right? That's what that really is. It's the time right before you're bleeding and your first 2 days of bleed, where you just scan your life and see that, wow, that these situations are not set up for my feminine, and it will come up to the surface. That's a oracular time of the month. Use that, especially if you're in your masculine shield. Don't look at yourself like you're just nagging or you're just moody. No. There is divine wisdom coming up to create a safer container for your heart and your raw feminine essence, which lives in the depths of your heart. And so another thing, which is a typical sign, we just talked about that. So the typical sign for a woman in her masculine shield is if she has a list of 10 things that bother her about the relationship, and yet she doesn't speak about it. So if you have 10 things in your mind about your partner that annoy you, that piss you off, that feel like you're not being honored, that you can't respect him for whatsoever, but none of these things get addressed in your relationship, that's a big flag that your masculine shield is waving and saying, yeah, I don't want to resolve that. Why? Because if you actually address these things properly and masterfully, or if you changed your energetics so that he would have to meet your energetic, that would also mean that your heart will be penetrated deeper. So the reason why you're doing that is not because you're a bitch. It's because you are afraid, or that masculine shield is afraid to feel. So that masculine shield will have this big list of all the things that bother you about the relationship and your man, but you're not bringing them up. Because as long as your man is not a man you deeply respect and honor, you don't have to surrender to him, right? And that's a safe space for the masculine shield. That's the safe space for that wounded warrior imprint within you. So we have to resolve that, because again, your feminine essence deserves to thrive. Your raw feminine essence deserves to feel. So remove anything that is in between you and that feminine essence. So see all of the things that this shield is basically, that's fueling this shield to stay up, and rip it down. You deserve an experience of beauty. And at that point, this is DNA wounding. This is DNA memory. It is not applicable for your life anymore. Like, your feminine wants to experience beauty because she's the one that will bring abundance, wealth, bliss, and all of the magic and magnetism into your life. But she can only be felt when we remove this masculine shield. And our relationship is a beautiful reflection of that. Like, anytime we're out of polarity, out of magnetism, it's showing us that we're upholding a shield. So nothing's a more potent container than a love relationship. Make it a love relationship again. Make it a lovership again by removing this masculine shield. Because that's where the superpower is. The superpower of your feminine is that she can reside in that beauty. And she only uses her OG essence and her masculine mastery when the divine flow invites her into that. But we're removing the masculine shield, because the OG essence is serving us and our raw feminine essence is serving us. But this masculine numbing shield isn't serving anything. So it's safe to release it. Baby steps. But baby steps are better than no steps. I love you so much. I am grateful for every single comment. So please connect. Please like and subscribe, because I know this is a paradigm shift for so many women. And this wisdom needs to be shared, and we need to embody that. And for that, we need to heal the masculine shield. I love you so much. I see you soon.